Y'all FBA people call yourselves delineating and trying to separate yourselves. I'm so glad y'all are, so we know who the fuck is the dumbass niggas and who the fuck is the smart niggas. I'm so glad. Please keep delineating so we know, oh yeah, them the dumb niggas over there. They don't know shit. They just be making up shit, just lying all the time. Just lie. Just lie. Don't got no proof, nothing, just lie. And then on the other side, we gonna know who the smart niggas because, yeah, they got a fucking brain. It gotta make sense.
What's going on, everybody? This Afro Think Tank. I need to clear some things up, okay? I need to clear some things up and make a distinction, okay? Because right now, you know, I have a bunch of FBAs in my comment section. They are kind of thinking that we are in some simpatico right now with this whole Asian thing, right? And they are using this opportunity where we all have an agreement on a certain thing, because like I said, like magnets, right? That's how we do. But what you guys need to understand is you're not going to use my platform, right, where I'm specifically talking about who I'm representing African Americans. Okay, I'm representing African Americans. I'm representing black people in America, because I've never walked out a day in my life and heard anybody say I'm a black American. The only reason anybody would say that would be somebody from outside of America trying to identify people, black people within America, right? But actual African Americans, we just say black, or we say African American. I still haven't heard anybody call themselves FBI out in the real world, right? Now, what we can't have you FBA people coming in the comment section when you find a video you like that I'm talking about, right? And then start using that to piggyback off everybody else. I wasn't talking about Africans. I was talking about Asian people, all right? African people, all right? My brothers and my sisters, you know, my same, because they are me, I am them. We are the same, right? Don't use my channel when I'm talking about them and I'm defending African Americans' pride and I'm defending our honor, because I do it all the time. If you haven't noticed, I'm very pro-African American. All right, not to be confused with FBA. All right, and I do think that now the diaspora is figuring out the difference between the two. Right, and here's the problem, FBA. I'm going to try to talk to you like, you know, normal without all the regular trash talking. All right, the issue with FBA, and I'm talking to I guess you would call the reasonable ones, the ones that like to use it, is that the term FBA was created by Tariq Nasheed. Okay? Tariq Nasheed. All right? And Tariq Nasheed is not a person who anybody worth their salt would follow and decide to rename their entire ethnic group because of. He's not of that pedigree. You understand? No matter how much you like him. And Jesse Jackson did not create African American. And even if Jesse Jackson did, let's just say for a second, Jesse Jackson did create African American. Tariq Nasheed couldn't wear Jesse Jackson's shoes. Jesse Jackson actually has credentials to where if he would have suggested that this is an appropriate name, that we should take it in consideration. Right? Jesse Jackson has a body of work, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with his methods or how he went about doing things or not. He has a track record that gives him the ability to have that conversation with us, to say, you know what, African American, yeah, I see that as, you know, a viable term for us, because it makes sense, because we are, in fact, Africans in America, right? And another issue that I have with FBA is you guys are following a guy that knows that a lot of you are lacking in critical thinking skills and comprehension skills. Do not take this as a shot. It is true. You must understand your limitations. A lot of you people calling yourselves FBA are not very well versed in linguistics. You're not very well versed in definitions. That's why Tariq Nasheed is able to trick you by using a word lineage. All right? Your lineage is African. Your lineage goes to Africa. That's your blood. It has nothing to do with culture. It has nothing to do with your nationality. It has nothing to do with where you're located. It has nothing to do about your opinions or what you do for a living. Your lineage is literally the story of your DNA. It's your genetic story. Your story starts in Africa. The thing that you guys are misusing the word lineage, and you don't care that you're misusing it. If you were to clan up, via lineage, you would be by yourself, because you represent an entire lineage distinct to yourself, despite all of our lineages going back to Africa. Now, your favorite content creator, Tariq Nasheed, Tariq Nasheed will say, well, everybody goes back to Africa at some point. What he's doing is he's disregarding facts, and she's disregarding the fact to go towards his narrative. Yes, if we go back 100 and something thousand years, yeah, sure. Everybody, of course, goes back to Africa, right? Because everybody, in fact, originated from Africa. But we African Americans, we black people, our lineage goes back to Africa only 300 to 400 years ago. Our lineage went from Central and West Africa to the Caribbean and South America to North America. So that means all the other black people that you talk about, who are in fact your family, right? All those people are part of your lineage. You have we have family in the Caribbean that we don't know about, obviously, because we don't know them, right? But you have some of your lineage, some of the people who share your lineage are in the Caribbean. Your direct lineage, right? More than others, right? And so the Caribbean is nothing but just south of Florida, basically. We're a continuous, if you look from New York all the way down to Trinidad, right? That portion of the earth, that vertical, that horizontal line, right? You would see all of Africans. We are all literally on the Western Hemisphere. We are all literally across the river from where we came from, the giant Atlantic Ocean. We didn't go that far. We literally got on the boat, got off the boat, and stayed right there. All right. You can see the migratory patterns where we are. We are African. Now, a lot of you people calling yourself FBA, you guys are highly uneducated about your history. And the people who know you're highly uneducated about your history, and it's not your fault that you're highly uneducated, it's the systems in which you went, it's the educational system, right? In order to know a lot of these things, you have to go above and beyond, and a lot of y'all have been surviving and don't got the time to go above and beyond. So you look online for someone that's going to teach you, and then you run into charlatans like Tariq Nasheed, all right? A lot of you guys were tricked into following Tariq from his Pan-African days to his xenophobic, hateful days, because you're still stuck on Hidden Colors 1, where he had other scholars, real scholars, by the way, and pseudo-scholars. All he did was record them saying a few things and added some graphics. What he's famous for is what every single YouTuber does right now and can put together in 3-4 minutes. Doesn't cost that much. Wasn't that high end. Anybody can do that, right? But back then, it meant something because somebody was doing something, right? But he switched his grift up. Keep in mind, he's a pimp. He's a Mac. He's a player, right? Pimp, Macs, and players, they have to change their attitude, and they got to change the game when the game changes. That's what he does, right? And you guys have fallen for it. And you guys have embarrassed the African-American community on a global stage. You guys, and no one wants to be associated with the term FBA. It's toxic. Even when the news networks accidentally slip up thinking, okay, FBA is a new term, once they do further research, they stop saying it. When people figure out what FBA is, and it doesn't take that long, you type it up, you're like, oh, damn. You see all the negativity that comes out of the people who call themselves FBA, right? And so when people say FBA is a xenophobic hate group, that's exactly what it is, because I'm an African American and I'm not FBA. 99.99% of African Americans never heard of FBA, never heard of Tariq Nasheed, and never sat down with in a council. We never had a bunch of panels where we discussed, hey, everybody, we all of a sudden don't like being called African American. Let's call ourselves foundational Black Americans. African Americans always been proud Africans. We wear African hoop earrings and African shirts, and we always got our fist up. We're Black Power. We are proud of our African brothers and sisters, right? We are proud to be African. That's where the source of our power comes from. You guys have not found the pride in being African. You think that your pride comes with being a special group of Black people. But the thing is, the thing that makes you strong as a Black person is because you're all right? You're an African who's been through, who your family and the people who consist of us in America over the last 300-400 years, we've been through a lot. Along with the Afro-Caribbeans, who also been through a lot. Along with the Afro-Latinos, who's also been through a lot. Along with the Western Central Africans, who's also been through a lot, right? Your lack of education makes you think that colonization and slavery were different. Your lack of education has you believing that DNA is not real, right? That it's some sort of scam, right? While you still believe genealogy, which is a bunch of documentation by the same groups who do DNA. You see how you can say that the paperwork the white man wrote up for you is real, and you wholeheartedly stick to that, but the science from that same white man is fake, and you can't believe it, even though it's not the white man's science. Like, you guys even give credit to white people. You say it's the white man's science. No, it's not the white man's science. Black people have participated in the development of DNA and DNA research. Black people have participated, invented systems when it comes to science. We are just as involved in science as anybody else. So there's no such thing as the white man's science, unless you're talking about pseudoscience. They have that. They've created pseudoscience in order to steal history and take away credibility from us. If you notice, everything was discovered when a white person discovered it, even though other groups of people have discovered the same thing they're just now discovering, right? You know, but the thing is, you FBA, the people who call yourself FBA, your social media commentators don't represent you very well. They're ignorant. They ask questions that any smart person who knows how to comprehend and knows how complex things is, they wouldn't ask. Like, why would any African American who's educated ask why African countries are currently dilapidated? Or why they are not up to the American standard? Why would any African American who knows anything about his history ask a question that they should already know the answer to and should have empathy for, because they have experienced the same economic sanctions and situation within their community? You see, America's domestic policy towards Africa is the same domestic policy towards, America's foreign policy towards Africa is the same policy they had, the domestic policy they have towards African Americans. It mirrors each other. Steal from the Black community in America, steal from the Black people on the continent, right? Don't reinvest the money that the Black people earn in their own communities into their communities, but siphon that money off to the white community. Don't reinvest into the African countries that they get all the resources to make their white Wakandas, and they send that off to white. It's the same thing. The reason why African countries are currently dilapidated is because the United States government, that same white supremacist organization that destroys your communities, sends spies and agents to your communities to keep your communities disrupted, to keep your communities on drugs, to keep your communities from developing itself, to keep the pastors controlling you via Christianity. You know, the same government that does that do the same thing over there for the same exact reason. They don't want us African Americans to be strong and powerful and unified. And they also don't want continental Africans to be strong, powerful, and unified. So they insert themselves. They throw money at weak men, right? They throw money at politicians, the same way they throw money at our politicians. You can literally see the corruption happening in live action. You're getting a PhD lesson in corrupt government right now. You can't get any better lessons than this. You don't need to take government class to learn about corruption when you're watching it live in your life. And then you're going to ask stupid questions about why certain African countries are dealing with certain things, or why certain Caribbean countries are dealing with certain things, when you should know the answer to that. If you think you are smart enough to be online and having these conversations with other people, debating and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of content creators that come off like they're intelligent. They try to look smart. It's really smug attitude, right? They trying to is a cheap imitation of intellectual knowledge, but they come off with smug attitudes and gotcha questions and bullet point tactics. Where you from? That's like a white. Where you from, nigga? Huh? That's like what white people say. What you doing right here, boy? You literally are picking up the tactics of the white supremacists that you pretend like you hate, but pander to, because you don't have problems with white supremacy. You just got a problem with your brothers and sisters stealing your combs and some shit. Like, that's the big deal with you. That's your big issue is your brother and sister called you a name. But them white boys been calling you a name for 400 years. You forgive them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you forget them, no problem. So you guys, we African Americans have a problem with you guys representing us, but we are glad that you came up with a name, FBA. At least you have distinguished yourself. You want to delineate, but y'all haven't delineated. All y'all do is say we delineated, but y'all still there. We still see you. You're still talking to us. You're still in Pan-African's business. You're still in inter-African relations. You're still you're still in our conversations, but you said you delineated, but you didn't delineate. Because had you delineated, you wouldn't care anything about what African Americans and the continental Africans are saying. You wouldn't care nothing about what Caribbeans and African Americans are doing. You wouldn't care about what Africans and Caribbeans and African Americans, you wouldn't care about none of that because you have delineated over here. And y'all doing your own thing and minding your own business and doing all that. But that's not what you're doing. What you're doing is you're being irritating to the greater black community, and you're a distraction to the black movement. And that's the truth. And like I said, I'm not trying to say this to hurt your feelings, but this is the truth. It's a bunch of grown men online who lack education, right? And they just want a barbershop talk online. And they react emotionally, and they react to any video meant to offend them. You react to everything. Everything offends you. You're perpetually pissed off about what it is somebody said about you, did about you. Everybody's a tether, blah, blah, blah. You're miserable. You got nothing going on. That's why you're always miserable and feeling offended or looking for something to be offended by every day. Because by you talking trash, you think you're doing something. By you saying FBA, you think you're doing something. By you giving all of your extra money to the FBA grifters online who think they're intelligent thought leaders when in fact they're just slightly smarter than you and have enough charisma to have you hang on to every word that they say, making you look like a fool and making them look like a paid fool because they're getting paid to be fools and you're not getting paid to be a fool. You're just a fool for free. And you got people like myself and others who are sitting here telling you in your face that you're wrong. We telling you who you are. You've been wondering who you are this whole time. We've been telling you who you are, but you get mad at us. We be telling you where you from. You get mad at us. We tell you what your language is, your original language before you start speaking that English, before your ancestors was forced to speak that English. You get mad at us. We tell you how to make money and give you opportunity. Like, hey, there's a whole place over there willing to give you anything you want, giving you a wide opportunity to build anything you want. You get mad at us, right? We give you solutions to problems. You get mad at us, right? What have you gotten from this FBA thing other than a bad reputation? In a few videos to cackle about or whatnot, right? What have you done? You guys need to learn how to think critically and stop thinking so simplistically. You guys need to learn how to comprehend what people are saying when they're using a higher vocabulary than what you're used to. Because a lot of you guys don't have the linguistic tools to be having these conversations. Because you don't even use words right. And you think you could just change a word and start. Do you hear any other group on the planet talking about lineage? Yeah, my lineage tribe. How stupid does that actually sound? How ridiculous does that sound? Matter of fact, do you hear any other group saying sit on the couch, don't vote? Even if they're frustrated with their politicians because they don't do what they say, everybody's frustrated with their politicians. There's not a country on this planet where the people are happy with their politicians right now. You are not special, right? But not voting is not an answer. It's doing nothing. It's allowing people to control you and you not having any say so. Right? You guys shield for the Republicans who are white nationalists. There's one thing about you can have your gripes about Democrats, right? You can have your gripes, right? But at least comprehend and understand how politics works. That way you know that there's different wings of the Democratic Party and that our political power lies in the progressive portion of the Democratic Party. We've never had a progressive president. Obama wasn't even a progressive president. He wasn't even progressive. They tried to call him progressive, but he wasn't. Right? He was more of a centrist corporate. He did a good job, but he wasn't like, he tried to give us universal health care. He was slightly progressive, right? But that didn't work out. Why? Because the Democrat Party, the conservatives and the centrals and the liberals wasn't trying to give us universal health care because their corporate overlords said no. So he couldn't do it. And obviously the Republicans they don't want to give us universal health care. They'd rather give it to Israel. Israel needs that universal health care. That's why we can't have it. Because we got to make sure Israel's taken care of, remember? All right. So, I'm just saying and I've noticed there's less people claiming FBI. I would say I'm hearing less and less, but I do see some grifters trying to pop up, trying to take advantage of the uneducated African Americans in America who truly and honestly don't know who they are. Because think about this. If you are some sort of indigenous African, right? Why is it you don't know the language of your indigenous African who come from America? Why is it you don't remember any cultural practices of these so-called indigenous Africans that were here in America? Why is it that you have no fables, no stories, any cultural references at all to these mysterious groups of Africans who are here in America? Where's your archaeological proof? Where is the written works? You have nothing, but you have blind faith in this myth because it hasn't been proven. Now, I'm not saying that we Africans didn't make it to the Americas before white people. I'm sure we did, obviously. But what I'm telling you is that doesn't mean we had a population here. That just means there was probably a couple thousand that made it to South America. And they probably were mixed up with the indigenous population over a couple hundred years, and you can't find them anymore. They wouldn't be in North America. They would be in South America. That's where Mansa Musa would have landed, in South America. That's where basically the 495 of the Atlantic Ocean is you can literally, you don't need to sail. You can sail from the West Coast all the way to South America without a sail. It'll take you there. There's a river that goes that way and a river to go back. Yes, that exists, right? So I'm sure we've traveled, we've traded. There's been archaeological proof about that, but not a massive population in which we would in any significant number. Because if we came over here in significant numbers, then our dominant genes would have overcame the population, and then we would have been here. It would have been a thing, right? But it's not a thing. But you want to believe it because it makes you feel good. Instead of embracing your real history, you want to embrace pseudo history by pseudo historians and pseudo filmmakers. That's your problem. We can't accept that in the age of information. I guess it was cool back before the internet when pseudo was better than nothing, right? But now we have real factual information, and pseudo's not good enough anymore. It's time for you FBA people to elevate yourselves and be proud of yourselves and be Africans again. Because the future is Africa. Your children are not going to subscribe to your little FBA thing. Now, for all you mixed mulattoes who's running around being FBA because you can't seem to find a tribe and the white folks don't accept you and you think you too mixed up to be, African because you think they won't accept you. If you mix people can't come up with a name, you know what I'm saying? Because I know there's a lot of FBA that's really half white, half black, part black, right? So they got the African American portion they can hold on to, but the African seems to be too far for them, so they stick with FBI. There's all kind of weirdos in the FBA, like for real. I done ran into them. That's how I know, right? Then you got the white trolls who are FBA, who pretend to be black on the internet. That's why you never see any FBA outside. I would assume that most of the comment section FBAs are white people and trolls, mixed mulattoes that got a identity complex, and a bunch of highly uneducated, clearly West African people. Clearly. And it's embarrassing. You guys are embarrassing when you do certain things. It's the truth. And me telling you this right, may hurt your feelings, but it's true. And I wouldn't be telling you this if it wasn't true, right? So I'm an African American, all right? I can go to my grandma, all my grandmamas and all my grandfathers, they're all African American, all right? From Georgia, from Virginia. I can go to the plantation where my ancestors were enslaved. I know who the first African was that landed in Virginia. Like, I know all my genealogy because we got great people in my family that did all that already. And I know my genetic makeup, and I know where I'm from in Africa, right? And y'all see me on my video actively, pursuing and going back and incorporate myself with my real lineage, okay? Right? So you guys got to just understand that the intellectual black world is not going to tolerate you guys any further. This FBA thing, you guys are all been placed in a box. Now you can get out that box. Individuals can get out that box by denouncing FBA, right, and coming back to reality, right, with the rest of us, or you can stay in the box. It's really your choice. But FBA is permanently in that box. They will never be looked at as good. They will never be looked at as a reputable group of people. They will never be looked at as a lineage, no matter many times you say it, because you guys are literally using the word wrong. The definition, everything about it is wrong, right? It's all pseudo, right? So it's really your choice. And some of you FBA have learned, because you can always learn, and they have left that cult. They've left the group, right? And a lot more you need to leave, because the group is leading you down a path of nothingness, down a path of being a pariah, especially when some of you guys are so brave, you put your face on the internet and you utter the ignorance for the world to confirm that you are in fact what it is that you spewing out. Anyway, this is going to be a long one because I got to attach some videos to this because I'm not the only one who feel this way. All right, but I just figured I had to let you know. Anyway, you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. Apple Think Tank, learn something, teach something. I'm out.
Critical thinking is a differentiating skill, particularly because so few people know how to think critically. I once worked with someone who was really good at this, and I'm going to give you an example of how this person worked that made it really clear to everybody else that they were very good at critically thinking. We would be in a meeting, maybe just our team or maybe a cross-functional team, and there would be information being presented, maybe metrics, maybe reports, maybe updates on goals. And then other people would respond to the information, other people would ask their questions. And then this person would wait until everybody else had asked questions and responded. And then they would ask their question. And their question invariably challenged an assumption, pushed back on the validity of a metric, or asked the question basically, are we solving the right problem here? Are we getting to the root of the actual issue here? And it wasn't in a way that gave everybody else more work. It wasn't in a way that felt like there was ego involved. It was a genuine curiosity that was built from paying attention, reading the room, seeing how other people responded, seeing what other questions came up. And then when they would ask the question, at the end of the meeting, almost every time we'd be like, dang, that's a good point. And it would make us think differently. When you have a room full of people who are thinking critically, you get more done. It's not necessarily about everybody having an opinion. It's about being able to synthesize the information in the room, understand what's important to actually bring up, and then asking a question to better focus the attention. That is how this person did that really, really well. And it turned out that that person did it well in almost every situation. So often that person would be invited to meetings that otherwise they wouldn't have been invited to, because we were like, you know what? We need their opinion on this. We need their insight because they are a critical thinker, and we know that they're going to ask the question that challenges our assumptions and moves us forward in a good direction.
The FBA are making up words. The FBA are twisting words because they say we don't have to rely on right definitions. One of the reasons that they scream, this is a lineage, is because they know they are misinterpreting, they are conflating, they are misdefining the word lineage, and they don't care. And they say it's because I'm not going to rely on the white definition to define my reality. So I say again, it depends on how you mean that. So for me, even if I was leaning towards, if I wanted to embrace FBA, I would still be the kind of person that says, hold on, but I can't rock with that phrase. Like, we not a lineage, we are an ethnicity. I would get caught right there. They would kick me out the group because I'm not running with redefining terms that way. And I would do that only when there's, only under extreme certain specific conditions.
So I teach critical thinking to undergraduate students, and if I had to summarize a few things that I think actually make someone a better critical thinker, it's that critical thinking is not just about logic, right? Reasoning is not an automatic process. It actually takes a great deal of effort. It means slowing down, questioning your own assumptions, and accepting new evidence, and being humble and honest about what it is you do or don't know. See, most people don't struggle because they're not smart, right? They struggle because thinking critically and thinking well is uncomfortable and sometimes requires a whole identity shift, which not a lot of people are ready for. And the part people typically miss is about emotion, right? Emotion is not the enemy of critical thinking. Emotion tells you what to pay attention to, and it drives curiosity, and it anchors values. You don't reason in a vacuum. You reason about things that you care about. But, of course, right, that unchallenged emotion, that's where thinking breaks down. And fear, ego, identity, and bias, all these things hijack clear judgment. And then it makes it easy to be manipulated and radicalized and just confidently wrong. Real critical thinking is the ability to hold both logic and emotional awareness, evidence and self-honesty.
Bad. Like I keep telling people, Trump has not done anything to harm foundational Black Americans.
So this is why I don't take the FBA movement seriously as some pro-Black movement. This is why I said that FBA are basically agents of the Trump administration, because here you have the quote-unquote leader of this FBA movement parroting Donald Trump's anti-immigrant rhetoric about immigrants taking quote-unquote Black jobs. And he's basically arguing that because of Trump's anti-immigrant position and stance, opportunities are opening up for Black people. And if that were true, why has Black unemployment increased to the highest point that it's been since 2022, if that's the case? And I'll post links in the comments to articles that make this point. The other thing is this: it is absolutely ridiculous for you to suggest that Donald Trump's policies are not hurting so-called foundational Black Americans, when this man's policies are detrimental to African Americans. These anti-DEI measures are slamming the doors of opportunity in the face of Black people. And it's not about just limiting diversity, equity, and inclusion in the federal government. He's also doing everything that he can to end it in the schools and private industry. He's using these anti-DEI measures to basically erase Black history, the very history that you claim to be about promoting. You're the one that put out Hidden Colors. And yet and still you find yourself co-signing a man that wants to erase Black history. Erase it. They have literally taken important historical figures off of federal government websites. They are literally trying to censor the Black Museum, the National Black History Museum in Washington, D.C. That's what this Trump administration is doing. This Trump administration is trying to end consent decrees against racist police departments. And while they're doing that, they are trying to criminalize Black activists that are speaking out and protesting against police brutality. They are no longer focusing federal law enforcement on white supremacists. Instead, they are focusing on activists like Black Lives Matter. And you have the audacity to say that Donald Trump's policies are not hurting Black Americans. Donald Trump just promoted and signed into law this so-called big, beautiful bill, which is nothing but a big, ugly lie, a windfall to the rich, where they're basically taking money from the poor to give even more money to the rich. They're ending programs such as SNAP, or cutting back programs such as SNAP, rather, programs that disproportionately benefit and assist Black people. They're cutting back on those programs. They're cutting back on Medicaid, a program that disproportionately benefits African Americans. But yet and still, you have the audacity to get on here and say that Donald Trump's policies don't hurt African Americans. Donald Trump is talking about giving police immunity to harass black people, to brutalize black people. But as far as you're concerned, Donald Trump doesn't have policies that are detrimental to black people. This man has fired all these federal workers, and we know that black people disproportionately work for government agencies. So black people are disproportionately impacted by that. But yet and still, you find yourself defending this man and basically saying that his policies are not detrimental to black people. You find yourself defending a man who was shocked and astounded that an African leader could actually speak proper English. This is a man who basically called African countries shithole countries. This is a man who said only black people can live like this when going through a slum in Chicago. But that's the man that you find yourself defending. That's the man that you find yourself parroting his rhetoric. This is why, again, I can't take these FBA people seriously. When did you stop fighting against white supremacy and start fighting against other so-called melanated people? Well, and lastly, I'll mention this. Donald Trump has basically gutted the Job Corps program. While you talk about how Donald Trump is helping black people get jobs, he's basically taking away jobs. As a result of him gutting that Job Corps program, many young black people have lost jobs, lost opportunities. And we know that when our young people do not have opportunity, that is a recipe for disaster. But this is the man that you have the nerve to talk about how he's helping black people get jobs when he's taking federal jobs and he's getting rid of Job Corps. Make it make sense.
It's starting to scare me how many people lack critical thinking skills and comprehension skills. And I didn't really realize how much of a problem this was until I downloaded the app TikTok. And I'm not saying that to, put down people on TikTok. I'm just noticing that a lot of people truly are struggling to comprehend information and to develop critical thinking skills. And they get in the comments section and they say things and make assumptions that if they had critical thinking skills and comprehension skills, they wouldn't say. And it honestly scares me because it's starting to become the normal to lack these things rather than to have these things. And I think that it's creating a passive consumer, and it's making a society that's not bothering to question systems of oppression, to question ideas, to question what we watch and what we consume on television and in media. And it's a little alarming. It's a little scary.
Tariq Nasheed, he is an individual that is xenophobic.
You came here moaning about Tariq. Stay your punk asses in your bitch ass countries and drown. Okay, why do you believe Tariq Nasheed is xenophobic?
Multiple lives or posts or anything where you can go to where he's specifically only attacking black people, whether it be from Africa or from the Caribbean or from anywhere else that's not including America.
When Tariq Nasheed says these negative things about these black immigrants or these black people, is he A, saying it for an arbitrary reason, for no reason, or B, saying it because those people did negative things to black America?
I don't think it's for no reason. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's for no reason.
You just admitted that Tariq Nasheed is doing self-defense and defending black America. So it's not fair to call him a xenophobic.
When you question him and you point out the things that he talks about and how it's a problem and why delineation is necessary, it doesn't really make any sense.
When we look at it from a case-by-case basis, every group wants to shit on black America. The difference is they don't come and pretend to be part of black America. Then when they get to the award ceremony, like people like Shabuzi, turn around and say immigrants built this country. This is something that Asians can't do. This is something that white Europeans can't do. This is something that white Arabs can't do. This is something that nobody else can do but these black immigrants from diaspora. This is why we focus on them sometimes so harshly, because you cosplay us, then turn around and act like you were never one of us. And then you support supremacy on top of that. Does that make sense?
No, not really.
How not? Explain how it doesn't make sense.
On a systematic scale, what oppression can Africans, or even, or not even just Africans, any black immigrants, what oppression can they possibly bring forth for black Americans that wouldn't automatically affect them as well?
Supporting white supremacy is something they can do that would not affect them as well.
How?
All right, because it's called meritorious manumission. Name one African or Caribbean culture that comes to America and wants to stand up against supremacy.
Haitians.
Haitians are not fighting against supremacy. There are so many Haitians that are bowing down to white America every day on a cultural standpoint.
Well, okay, but what do you mean by fighting it? Then give me some examples.
What do you mean what I mean? This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
Give me some examples, because I want to know what you mean.
This is what I'm saying. You want to say that Tariq Nasheed is xenophobic. You can't even answer a question to how you guys are actually fighting racism in America.
Well, give me an example of what you mean. They're fighting by not actually supporting white supremacy. Now, maybe their children.
Not a fight, I said. That's not fighting.
Dude, if you're not adding to the flame.
If you're bowing down and kissing white ass to keep a job to stay in America, how is that a fight? I don't want to talk about the racism. I'm scared they'll send me home. Then you're a bitch.
I understand that, but you also have to admit that you're basically asking these people to do something that you know they can't actually do to the fullest extent.
Stop coming to America to get air. Stay in your poverty-stricken country and drown. If you're not going to help us fight, stay there and drown. Do not come here and say, I didn't help them hurt you, and you didn't stop them. And not only that, when we go back to your countries, why are you the majority and still getting pumped? It's because you all are bowing down. That's the only way that could work.
That's not how that
bowing
works.
Down. Period.
That's not how that works.
That is how it works. You talked about Haitians. Did Haiti pay France for their freedom? A lot of silence now. A lot of silence. Did Haiti pay France for their freedom? After they got their independence by fighting. After that, France said you have to pay us. Did they pay them?
To an extent, yes, but there's obviously
they pay them the full fucking
they haven't. They still haven't paid it. What are you talking about?
Have a good night. Have a good night. Have a good night. Listen, that is a tether supreme, everybody. We have to start having different levels of tether. That is a super tether. He went super saiyan in the tether world.
Guys, this was the best thing I have ever encountered in my life at Leo Spell. So since you can't let me speak for 1 minute because you guys are too sensitive and anti-intellectual to let a girl speak for 1 minute when I was severely calm the whole time, super offended, all I said was you are a very xenophobic group of people that just promote, tension among the black diaspora. You couldn't take that. Why do you have panels? Why do you have panels if you can't let people speak? You're sensitive. You guys are butthurt. You like to take the work of my ancestors who actually did work, because you would have just been the snitching house Negro. That's what you would have been. Don't have debates if you can't take anything at all. You're sensitive. You don't talk. You just want a panel of confirmation bias, ignorant people that think they are American Indian and like to erase a Native American people and their history. So don't have debates. You can't handle talking to an intellectual person. Give it up.
Why do I keep seeing these low IQ videos of FBA content creator and CEO on my timeline?
So bad in Somalia? Why is the healthcare system so bad in Somalia? You're not letting me finish. You got to be quiet. If your culture is so popping, why is the education system so bad in your culture? Why do y'all barely have any type of healthcare system over there? Why is all of the infrastructure in your own homeland destroyed? Mogadishu is a terrible city.
Okay, Mr. Uneducated FBA, let this educated FBA let you know a little something. So, as we're aware, Somalia was destabilized by the British and the Italians, right, with funding from the United States, which is one of the reasons they were destabilized and one of the reasons they came here as refugees, right? Even today, the United States is looking at Somalia for another invasion. You know why? Because Somalia has rich resources and they have a very young population. population. And if you're wondering why their young population matters, it's because they're going to be the slaves that mine the resources for the U.S. so we can get rich. So you're sitting here sounding illiterate as hell, not knowing anything about Somali and African history because you're a retarded FBA. You know what I'm saying? And you guys don't think you African, so you don't think anything ever happened in Africa. But still actively, we are waging war against Somali people, right, in their countries. We're actively working with Kenya right now to destabilize Somalia. You got to do more research, Mr. Ant CEO. Big bro, being ignorant is not a flex, bro.
I follow this FBA brother. He was just going live with another brother, talking about strong, big, black, independent women don't want to have accountability for the destruction we did to the community. Yo. And then the other guy said that when they asked where I'm from, you see, because when you start to disagree with the FBA, I just made a video about this. We don't know how to communicate with each other. They're making it seem like, oh, I'm loud and I'm one of them old ones that don't want to hear it and holding back the black man. Me? Then they say, where are you from? As if they gonna catch me like I'm from Caribbean, I'm from Africa. I say, I'm from the muck. I'm from deep down south, Florida, Georgia area. You know what they said to me? You know what the guy said? People in Florida and New York, they are tethers. That he questions black. So now, hold on now. See how far we going? Remember I told y'all on the other video, this thing is a slippery slope. If we keep on doing this, if we keep doing it like this, we might as well throw the whole thing in the garbage. Because the ones who pretending like they are for the community, they are the fault of what has happened. They are the problem. And he's talking about, oh, you saying what's the solutions? I got this book here. So a book is going to do it? A book? Them niggas just trying to sell something. How can you blame it on the women when it was the men who sold drugs in the community? Talking about we tried to feminize them. How can a woman feminize a man? How? You decided to sell the drugs that they pushed in our community. It was men, not women. You decided to bring that white girl in our community and lay up with her and breed her and have kids with her long before the black woman started to mix. The black man, you knew that they were locking you up to put you in prison so that y'all can only fuck each other. And you still did things to get there instead of holding it down another way. Right? So I never talked about that because all that is pushing blame. And everybody has a cost to pay. Right? But here's what happened to the FBA man. Now he just woke up and realized who and what he is. Now he expects black women to just roll over and let him rub their belly. Black men kill, black American men kill women, black women, on a daily basis, on a high rate. And no one's talking about it. I didn't raise my voice or anything. I didn't disrespect or nothing. Putting words in my mouth. I just talked about this just because I said black America needs a healing. You know how I get grief from other people, from Africa and from Caribbean? Because how I stand up for FBA men. You know how many breaks I give to FBA men who want to sit around and just play video motherfucking games all day? When black American men couldn't work or couldn't do nothing, it was the women who was working, who was buying them Jordans where I come from. What? Don't you see? Listen, that's how you know they're ignorant to history. He talking about 60 plus years. And we've been 60 plus years we've been going back and forth fighting with each other. Now it done come into the marriage home. where now men and women are fighting against each other, and women who just want to be apart. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's us. The things women do, the things women put up with just to have a man is unbelievable. I refuse to do it. I'd rather die alone than have a fool rule over me. 100. That's why everybody told me, I say I am a proud FBA. But 9 times out of 10, I date foreigners who have conscious mind. Because we are a broken people. When you check history, whoever here it is, let me tell you. Because FBA is a lineage. It's not a group. It's not an organization. So you don't have to follow these motherfuckers, man. You don't have to agree with them. Your lineage, your bloodline is already. So now we all FBA, right? So now how the guy is saying that not Florida and New York have a bunch of tethers that are FBA. This is what they are saying. This is what they are pushing. So now there's a divide inside of us. That's why it was so easy for white folks to get us here. We half dead before we even come alive, family. With niggas like this on the thing. Because listen, I keep forgetting this because John Henry Clark talked about this. How did they conquer us? How? Because we always outcast our people. Black people are some of the most racist and prejudiced people against ourselves. And it's a proven fact when you look at what Africa and the Caribbean is doing to us. And then look at what we are doing to ourselves. Think about it. You're too fat. Big back. Isn't it? Especially FBA, we love to pick at people. Big back. You're too fat. Your head too big. You don't got the right shoes on. You're gay. You're too tall. You're too black. You're too light skinned. You don't look good enough. You're too ugly. You're too tall. You're too short. Every time we create an outcast of people, and what happens? The enemy come and get that outcast because we haven't found the medium. When you check it, those niggas, the same ones up there talking, they looking for excuses for where they put their penis. Trust me. They dipping and dabbing on the other side. And they looking for excuses for their actions. And they want you to buy their book. They want to be that next man who died, who used to get up and diss black women all kind of ways. And made a killing off of it. He made money off of degrading black women and black American women especially. And he made that money from black American men especially. Because Caribbeans and Africans wouldn't stand for it. You see the difference? And because I'm from Florida, I guess, and because I talk truth and don't be biased and only talk about the tethers and talk about and tell us to look in that goddamn mirror too. We supposed to be the rulers and everything and the top and the DNA and this and that. We got all the facts, but we ain't got no common motherfucking sense. Well, a lot of us do. It's the ignorant ones that's in the middle who I'm talking about, family. Be careful. Call a spade a spade. Don't be sitting out here just trying to be a part. Don't fall for it. This thing is serious. Stand on your own. That's why I always talk about ancient Kemet. I say, why was they writing down what they call the Bible, the ancient scrolls, because that's where they get the Bible from, the Medunetta, what they call the hieroglyphics. Why didn't they just stop it and start people? Why did they wrote it down for those to come, or for ones who come back, however this life go, so that we can remember that you can't save everybody, that in the midst of it, that you had to write it down because nobody's really listening. And the same thing is being repeated. There's nothing new under the sun. They got to us because we're too divisive. The Europeans are smart enough to know that they have to make arrangements and make agreements to tolerate each other at certain balances so they can be over us while we still down here cooning and separating and fighting each other. They ain't gonna fool me. I'm FBA, but I'm open. I see you niggas. I know you. I'm born with you here. I know how stupid you are, and I'm calling you.
Fuck them. Again. Fuck them. Them and you is not friend. Fuck them. Them no need to be in your life. So why you making them cause you nothing but trouble and strife? Fuck them.
The texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such an extent that you bleach? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate, you should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.